Good morning, dear students. In our previous class, we fully understood the story of the heavenly parasol. In today's class, we will learn the next lesson about the boy who sold his wisdom. How that boy wins everything with his intelligence. Let us first start with the pre-reading task. Prose 2. The boy who sold his wisdom. The boy who sold wisdom. Pre-reading task. King Akbar received a letter from a neighboring king asking for a pot full of wisdom. He in turn consulted his clever jester Birbal. Birbal requested the king to give him some time to give a pot full of wisdom. The king agreed. So Birbal grew a pumpkin in a pot and gave it to the king. The king in turn sent it across to the neighboring king with a note. The wisdom should be removed without damaging the pot or the wisdom in it. If you damage either of them, you should be ready for a battle. The neighboring king was surprised to see the pot full of wisdom released his mistake and fell at the emperor's feet. He begged the emperor forgive him. Dear students, in King Akbar's kingdom, one day what happens there? King Akbar got a letter from a neighboring king for asking for a pot full of wisdom. Akbar asked his clever advisor, who is that? Birbal, for help. Birbal asked for time. Birbal asked for some time and then gave a pumpkin in a pot to Akbar, claiming it contained wisdom. Akbar sent it to the neighboring king with a note. He must remove the wisdom without breaking the pot, or the wisdom the neighboring king couldn't do it. Realize his mistakes. That king realized their mistakes and begged for the forgiveness. See there. What is the questions there? What was the demand of the neighboring king? He wanted a pot full of wisdom. He demanded for the pot full of wisdom. How Birbal got a pot full of wisdom? Birbal grew a pumpkin in a pot and called it a pot full of wisdom. Then third question is, what is the meaning of a pot full of wisdom? Its container, cleverness or knowledge, but the story it's used as a wisdom. So let's begin the lesson. Let's read and enjoy. First paragraph is, Nagendra was orphaned and found himself without a job. He was clever and he had learned many things by observing his father. One day he had a brilliant idea. He went into town and hired the smallest and cheapest place he could find and set up a shop. He spent a few nickel coins he had on paper, ink and a pen. Over his shop, he put a placard that said, "Wisdom for sale." All around him were merchants who had large shops. They sold cloth, jewelry, fruits, vegetables, and things that people bought every day. Nagendra called out all kinds of wisdom for sale, reasonable prices. The people who had come to buy things could not see anything in his shop, but could only hear the words he was shouting. They crowded around and laughed at him. No one bought even one piece of wisdom from him, but he was patient. See that, dear students, one boy is there that named Nagendra. Huh? A boy named Nagendra was an orphan and didn't have any job. He was clever and learned from observing his father so many things. One day he had an idea. He rented the smallest, cheapest shop in that town, bought a few supplies, paper, ink, and pen, etc. Put a sign, wisdom for sale, writing there, wisdom for sale. Around him were a big merchant selling normal things like clothes, jewelry, fruits, and vegetables, etc. etc. Nagendra shouted and shouted all kinds of wisdom for sale, reasonable in reasonable prices. See, again and again Nagendra shouted all kinds of wisdom for sale here for reasonable prices. People could hear him but couldn't see anything in his shop because no one is there, no items is in their shop, so they laughed at him. No one bought wisdom but he stayed patient. See there, no one bought his wisdom but he stayed very patiently. Dear students, we will continue this in our next class. Till then, bye. Have a nice day.